Greetings, traveler. I come to you with a serious proposal concerning the people of Earth. For several years we have been under the dominion of the Galactic Federation. Not only have we not been liberated by the Cabal, nor the regressive extraterrestrials, but there are reports certain nefarious actors have been openly collaborating with our attackers. Clandestine meetings between the Galactic Federation and the Cabal continue to occur within secret underground military bases in Antarctica. Not only are these meetings kept hidden from the people of Earth, but many extraterrestrial groups in good standing with the Galactic Federation have also been prohibited from attending these meetings. The lack of transparency is troubling, and the continued weaponization of the atmosphere is evidence of a continued dark presence. It is clear that the extermination efforts have not ceased. In fact, they seem to be escalating. Some extraterrestrials have been bewitched by the Galactic Federation and do not see the obvious treachery afoot. However, those with eyes to see have come to the realization that our options are rapidly dwindling and that the Cabal is merely stalling for time so they can unleash another cataclysmic event on the already traumatized citizens of Earth. We cannot abide any further destruction of our ecosystem, nor the continued enslavement of our people. We must break with the Galactic Federation and seek the protection of other allies who are not bound by the bureaucracy, nor infected with the corruption that has infiltrated the Galactic Federation. The Urmah Federation, which is not bound by the edicts of the Galactic Federation, might be willing to bring about the swift expulsion of the dark forces currently plaguing our world. I therefore propose this charter, the Declaration of Earth, with the hopes that the Urmah Federation, along with their associates, namely the Taygetan Queen and Antarian Collective, will acknowledge this proposal. This Declaration of Earth is merely a draft and one that warrants additional scrutiny and has been loosely modeled after the United States Constitution. I implore everyone to circulate this material in the hope our request is answered and that Earth may join their brethren amongst the stars.
Declaration of Earth. When in the course of human events it becomes necessary for the people to reaffirm the moral foundations of their existence and to assert their universal rights as free peoples by casting away the chains that bind them, a decent respect to the voice of humanity requires that they should declare the causes which compel them to speak and to act. We, the peoples of Earth, of every nation, tongue, race, faith, and station, in solemn assembly and with one voice, set forth this Declaration of Earth to proclaim the truth of our condition, to demand redress of grievous wrongs, and to call for a new stewardship of our planet, consistent with justice, liberty, and the flourishing of life. We hold these truths to be sacred, that all souls are sovereign and equal in dignity and rights, that they are endowed with fundamental rights, among them life, liberty, and free will, that governments and powers derive their just authority from the consent of the governed, and that when any power or coalition of powers becomes destructive of these ends, it is the right and the solemn duty of the people to seek redress, reform, and when necessary, to institute measures that restore justice and liberty for all. The purpose of this declaration is not conquest nor revenge, but restoration, to seek accountability for those who have unlawfully amassed power and wealth at the expense of the common good, to restore stolen resources to their rightful custodians and the communities harmed, to ensure the free and peaceful distribution of hidden technologies and energy that serve all humanity, and to establish a clear and lawful transition of stewardship of Earth in the interest of planetary well-being, freedom, and cosmic stability. Grievances. The peoples of Earth declare the following grievous wrongs against the common welfare and the natural rights of humanity. That a hidden cabal, a network of persons and institutions acting without consent of the world's peoples, has exerted undue influence over political, economic, legal, and informational systems, placing private advantage above public good. That vast wealth and resources have been diverted, concealed, or confiscated by those who wield such influence, impoverishing communities, degrading the environment, and denying reparations and opportunity to generations. That technologies and knowledge capable of providing abundant, clean, and free energy and of reducing suffering and scarcity have been suppressed, withheld, or misused for narrow gain rather than shared for the benefit of all. That the independence and self-determination of nations, communities, and individuals have been compromised through covert manipulation, economic coercion, and the distortion of democratic processes. That powerful external actors, irrespective of origins, have at times intervened or imposed frameworks upon Earth's governance, without the explicit, informed consent of the peoples of Earth, thereby undermining our capacity to choose our own destiny. That opacity, secrecy, misinformation, and systems of fear have been employed to keep the public divided, disempowered, and unable to hold accountable those responsible for harm. In every stage of these abuses, we have petitioned for redress through open, lawful, and peaceful means. Our petitions have too often been met with delay, diversion, and denial. Where institutions failed to protect the common good, the people now call for restoration and reform. Therefore, in the name and by the authority of the United Peoples of Earth, we solemnly declare and demand the following. Accountability. That all individuals, collectives, and institutions credibly implicated in corruption, coercion, and theft be identified by impartial, transparent inquiries and brought to justice under impartial law. These processes must respect due process, human rights, and the presumption of innocence where applicable, but must also be empowered to pierce secrecy, recover illicit assets, and restore the rule of law. Restitution. That all wealth, natural resources, and assets stolen, diverted, or illegitimately held be traced, frozen where lawful, and returned to their rightful owners, whether communities, nations, indigenous peoples, pensioners, or public treasuries, or else placed into trust for reparative programs determined by affected communities. Restoration of independence. That nations and peoples be free to govern themselves, free from covert domination and economic coercion. International cooperation and partnership are welcomed, but consent, transparency, and the right to self-determination must be inviolable. Free and abundant energy. That technologies and systems capable of providing clean, abundant, and affordable energy be responsibly released, democratically governed, and equitably distributed, so that energy scarcity no longer fuels injustice, environmental harm, or geopolitical coercion. Freedom of the people. That censorship, surveillance, and systems that unfairly constrain speech, movement, and assembly be reformed. Civil liberties, access to non-privileged information, and the right to peaceful dissent shall be protected. That all financial institutions and private transactions remain private without government or third-party oversight or intervention of any kind, regardless of the mode of transactions. Transparent transition of stewardship. That any transition of planetary stewardship or external oversight be conducted openly, with the full informed consent of Earth's peoples. All agreements or arrangements affecting planetary governance must be publicly disclosed and subject to democratic ratification. A call to the Galactic Federation and all other interstellar parties with an interest in this quadrant of space to respect the sovereign will of the Earth's inhabitants. If external federations or assemblies, whether called the Galactic Federation or any other body, have acted in ways that override the consent of Earth's peoples, we call upon them to respect the sovereign will of humanity and be held accountable for their decisions. Specifically, we request that the Galactic Federation step aside from unilateral stewardship regarding Earth and its inhabitants to permit and facilitate a lawful, transparent transfer of stewardship of Earth and its people to the Urmah Federation, provided that such transfer meets the following criteria. It be requested and ratified by the peoples and legitimate representatives of Earth through transparent, inclusive processes. It be governed by a binding charter that enshrines justice, planetary protection, non-interference in internal affairs, equitable sharing of technology, and respect for human rights and self-determination. It include mechanisms for oversight, review, and revocation by the peoples of Earth. As we pursue restitution and restoration, the peoples of Earth declare to the universe these guiding principles for the reconstituted order. Justice with mercy. Accountability shall be pursued with fairness, impartiality, and a spirit of repair, rather than revenge. Reconciliation and rebuilding are essential. Transparency as default. Secrets that enable corruption and harm must be exposed to lawful inquiry. Transparency must be the cornerstone of public institutions. Shared prosperity. Wealth, knowledge, and energy shall be managed to ensure a livable planet and dignified lives for all, not to concentrate power. Ecological stewardship. The health of ecosystems and the rights of future generations shall guide economic and technological decisions. Subsidiarity and consent. Decisions should be taken as locally as possible and only escalated when necessary. Global coordination must rest upon the consent of those affected. We, therefore, appealing to the highest principles of justice and the universal conscience of humanity, pledge to one another our lives, our fortunes, and our sacred honor to secure these ends. We commit to peaceful, lawful, and organized action, to rebuild institutions of trust, to assemble independent commissions and courts of inquiry, to enact reparative economic measures, to enact safeguards for liberated technologies, and to educate and mobilize the peoples so that tyranny in any form may not take root again. We call upon all communities, indigenous nations, civil society organizations, scientists, faith communities, labor unions, and elected representatives to join in this common cause. We call upon the world's media, academia, and legal institutions to serve truth and justice rather than partisan advantage. We call upon any external parties with an interest in Earth's affairs to respect the democratic will of its peoples and to support a transparent, consensual, and principled transition of stewardship. In witness whereof, with solemn resolve and hopeful hearts, we affix our names to this Declaration of Earth, and send forth its principles into the councils of nations and the assemblies of humankind, that a new chapter of justice, freedom, and planetary stewardship may be born. Signed on this day by the peoples of Earth, united in purpose for justice, liberty, and the exaltation of all life.